Now it's time to talk about the squares and the square root. So the first thing that we're going to have here is the idea of a square. And let's see, if we're having 4 and we take that 4 again times 4, we're having there 2 number 4. That means that they are square. So 4 times 4 will be 16. Another way to write that in a simplest way will be having our 4, that will be our base, and we're going to write here as a hat a number 2. That 2 represents the times that our number 4 repeats, and we're going to read this like 4 to the second power or 4 squared. And 4 squared is equal to have 4 times 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. Now, what happened with the square root? So the square root will have this symbol, that, and we're going to write inside of the square root a number. We're going to take here our 16 as an example. And what we're going to do with that square? We're going to write the numbers, or the 2 numbers that can give us 16. Those numbers must be the same. So which number are the same and give us 16? That number is 4. So we're going to read this like a square root of 16 is 4. And we're going to read this like 4 squared equal to 16. So between the square root and the square is a relationship, and you can see it there. Let's solve those examples that are behind me. So we're going to solve it looking for the square. So this expression, we're going to read it as 15 squared, and that means that we're going to have 15 times 15. And what will be the product of multiplying 15 times 15? We're going to have here 225. Let's see the next one, the square of negative 45. So look, how do I read here? We're having a negative 45, and that negative 45 is inside a parenthesis, so that's why we're reading that like the square of negative 45. And how we're going to write that? We're going to write it with the parenthesis, negative 45 times negative 45. When your negative is inside the parenthesis, we're going to write the parenthesis write the negative sign inside the parenthesis. So negative times negative is positive, and 45 times 45 will be 2025. There is it. Now let's see that one, 106 squared. So this will be equal to have 106 times 106. Now we're going to multiply that, and we're going to get here 11,236, like that. Now the next one, we're having here negative 5 squared. So we're going to write this like the negative, and our negative is alone. It is not inside a parenthesis. So we're going to have just one negative and 5 times 5. So this will be equal to have negative 25, because 5 times 5 is 25. Now let's see this one, the square of negative 5. In this case, our negative is inside the parenthesis, so our negative will be twice. So we're going to have here negative 5 times negative 5, and that will be negative times negative, positive. 5 times 5 is 25. The last one is negative 9 squared. Again, our negative is outside, so we're going to have here outside our negative, and our 9 will be squared. So we're going to have it 2 times. So 9 times 9 will be 81, and we just write the negative. Now we're going to solve some examples for the square root. Now, in what table can we find two numbers but the same numbers that when we multiply them we get 100? In this case, those numbers will be 10. Why? Let's see. Our answer will be 10. One of our answer will be 10. Now let's see why we're saying that 1. That is because if we're having 10 times 10 will be equal to 100, or if we're having negative 10 times negative 10, that will be equal to 102 in that way. So when we are talking about the square root, we're going to have two answers, one positive and one negative. How can we write that in a simplest way? We can have that like positive negative 10. And why? Because 10 times 10 will be equal to 100, this 100, and negative 10 times negative 10 also will be equal to 100, that is that 100. Okay, let's solve that. The square root of 49. Two numbers or the same number that when we multiply them we get 49. So in this case will be 7. But our answer will be two numbers 7. One positive 7 and one negative 7. So how can we write that? We can write it like negative 7 and 7. But this is just with the square root. Now let's see there. A square root of 121. So which same number give us 121? Is 11. 11 times 11 is 121. But negative 11 times negative 11 is 121. So we're going to have here negative 11 and 11. We're going to write y here. We can have it in this way too. 11 squared is equal to 121, and the square root of negative 11 will be equal to 121. Now with 81, a square root of 81. So those numbers are 9. 9 times 9 is 81. And negative 9 times negative 9 is also 81. So our solution here will be, we're going to write it in this way, positive negative 9. And why? We're going to write y. That is because if we're having 9 squared, we're going to have here 81. And if we're having the square root of of negative 9 will be 81. Now the last one, 64. So which number give us 64? On our tables we know that 8 times 8 will be equal to 64. So our solution will be positive negative 8. Now we're going to write y. That is because 8 squared is equal to 64, and negative 8, or the square of negative 8, is equal to 64. In that example, we're having the square root of 625. So 625 is very hard to find just using the tables. So what will be the trick here? So we're going to make use of prime factorization that you saw it at the beginning of the year. What we're going to do? We're going to write here 625, and we're going to make a line like that. Now we're going to start looking for its prime factors. Prime, remember, that are the numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and we continue. Now, let's see. Our number ends on 5, so it doesn't have half. So we jump to the next one, that will be 3. How do we find if this number is divisible by 3? We're going to add all its digits. So 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. And 13 is not a multiple of 3. So we jump to the next one, that in this case will be 5. So we're going to write here 5. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take 625 and we're going to divide it by 5. And it will be 125. So we write down the answer. Now this number has on its end 5, so we're going to use again 5. So 125 divided by 5 will be 25. So we're going to have here 25, and 25 is divisible by 5. So we're going to write the 5 here, and we're going to say 25 divided by 5 is 5, and that 5 is divisible by 5, so we're going to get here 1. Now, we are talking about the square root, and a square means 2. So we're going to make pairs. Here is one pair, we take out 1 5. Here is another pair, and we take out 1 5. Once we make that, we're going to multiply those numbers that we take out. So 5 times 5 will be equal to 25. So we can say that the square root of 625 will be equal to positive and negative 25. In that example, we're having the square root of 256. So again, 256 is difficult to find on the tables, because we usually learn until 11 or 12. So what we're going to do, we're going to make again the prime factorization. So we're going to start. We're going to write here 256, and we made the line. Now, our number ends on 6. So that means that that number has half. So we're going to write here 2, and we're going to divide. 256 divided by 2 will be equal to the number 128. And again, our 128 ends on 8, and 8 is divisible by 2. So that number has half. We're going to write here 2. Now, the half of 12 is 6. The half of 8 is 4. And again, our 64 has half. So we're going to write here 2. The half of 64 is 32. Again, 32 has half. So we're going to write here 2. And the half of 32, or 32 divided by 2, will be equal to 16. 16 is divisible by 2. So we're going to write here 2, and will be 8. 8 has half, that is 4. 4 has half, that is 2. 2 has half, that is 1. So once we get that 1, we're going to start make couples, because we're looking for the square, and a square means 2. So we're going to make here a couple. We take out the number 2. We make here another couple. We take out the number 2. Again another couple, and another 2, and our last couple will be 2. Once we get that, we're going to write it here. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. In that way. And 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So our solution will be positive and negative 16. Now let's see those examples. We're having there the square root of negative 16, the square root of negative 4, the square root of negative 25, and the square root of negative 1. when we're talking about the square root of a negative number, like in those cases that our negative is inside the square root, what will be our solution? No solution. Or we can say NS, and N slash S means no solution. But we're going to write that only in those cases that our negative is inside the square root. So that means that negative number do not have a square root. Again, negative number do not has a square root. So we're going to continue with solving that. Here, no solution, and here, no solution. Let's see those cases, those examples. We're having here negative and a square root of 36 and negative a square root of 25. The difference between this example and the last one is that our negative is outside the square root. So here we're going to have a solution. Let's see. We're going to write here the negative, and then we're going to find the square root of 36, that in this case is 6. And when we have negative and a square root of 25, we write the negative that is outside, and we just write here 5. Remember, 6 times 6 is 36 and 5 times 5 is 25. Now, IXL is just using positive solutions. So you need to read carefully the instructions of the exercises on your PDF. If the exercise say positive solution, you're going to write just the positive number. And if the exercise say the solution, you will write both the positive one and the negative one. You need to remember that Excel use only positive solution, and you need to read carefully the instructions of the PDF if the exercise say positive solutions.